What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction and I share my life with you. My name's Nicole. I'm a person in long-term recovery. My sobriety date is July 13th of 2015. And here on this TikTok, we like to do all things recovery from addiction. So, if you or someone you know has ever struggled from the disease of addiction, or you just want to hang out with us, stick around for a while. I think you'll enjoy the show. So tonight, you guys, we're going to have Chrissy on to tell her story. She's going to be on here in about 8 minutes. She's smoking a cigarette, getting ready. But Chrissy and I met here on TikTok. I interviewed her dad about 2 months ago. And he did amazing. It was great. Choo choo! That's right. The recovery train is coming. Hey, Axel. Why don't you guys do me a solid, okay? Those of you guys that are just coming into the chat, do me a solid and share the video. Invite your friends over. And I'm going to share the video, too, over to my Facebook. So let's... What's up, Camden? Okay. So I got that over to Facebook. If you guys don't mind, go ahead and share it out for me. Share the video out. It's really hot in this back room. It's just hot in general here in Arkansas, y'all. So I'm miserable. Y'all know, a thick bitch is dying over here. I'm sweating where the sun don't shine, honey. So, anyways, me and Chrissy met here on TikTok. We get along so good. We're exactly alike. And so we have just established a friendship, you know. It's probably like 107 here. We've established a friendship here on TikTok. And recently, she shared with me and the rest of the recovery community that she is on methadone. Yes, I know, CG. And she just recently shared that with all of us, which I'm so proud of her, you guys, because there should never be any shame in the pathway to recovery you take. Thanks, girl. Hey, Ann. Hey, Layla. Denise. Yes, I know CG Kid personally. I have his phone number. So today, you guys, yeah, he's sober as far as I know. He's posting on his vlog channel. That's why. He just posted a video on his vlog channel like 5 days ago. So, but yeah, he's sober. He's just not like super duper into the sobriety thing anymore. You'll have to go see his vlog channel. Sorry, I lost track of what I was talking about. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Tonight, Chrissy's going to come on and share her experience, strength, and hope. We are going to chill out. We are going to listen. And, yeah, it's going to be awesome. And you guys get the opportunity to look at my beautiful eye makeup because, honey, I slayed this shit today. For those of you guys that would like, I can upload my video from earlier today where I did this eye makeup look. But we slayed it. My audience helped me pick out the colors. And so, hope you like it. Hey, Denise, I have a podcast. If you go on to Anchor, and put in Real Talk Recovery, it'll pull up my podcast. I also have a YouTube channel with like 4-hour long videos on there, so you can literally listen to it. You know, the video will play too, but you can listen to it on the radio. Thanks, you guys. Yes, my Real Talk Recovery. 4 months. Good job, Anchor Girl. Thank you for the compliment about my shirt, honey. I got it from Urban Outfitters. So if you guys want like longer content, please check out my YouTube channel. It's Real Talk Recovery with Nicole, and I have thousands of videos on my YouTube channel, you guys, and they're like hours long. I'm very long-winded when I share my story, and so I have like a couple different times where I told my whole story, and it's like 4 parts long over on my YouTube channel. But all you gotta do is plug it in and listen to it. You know, you don't even have to look at me because I'm just telling the story, you know? Yes, if you miss my lives here, 9 times out of 10, I am going to upload them onto YouTube. Um, Sometimes I don't, if they're just me shooting the shit and not doing anything. But I try to, share it. Oh, hey girl, you ready? Oh, yeah. Hey, Chrissy, tell me when you're ready and I'll send you the invite. Okay, girl, go live on your account and I'll send you the invite, okay? I'm excited. Sorry. I love listening to people's stories, y'all. It is so much fun to me. Hey, Carol. You know who it is now. Yeah, that's my friend. Me and her are the perfect friends, y'all, because we both we're just kind of like the same person when it comes to like long phone call conversations. Okay, here we go. I just invited her over. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. Can you hear me?
I'm so excited. Yes, I can hear you very good.
I was so nervous. I'm always nervous, and I'm outside smoking, and Jim plays that song. Relax, don't do it.
Oh, we love
So
Jim.
I'm
We
super.
love Jim. He's the best. Everybody on TikTok is in your relationship.
He's my race, man. I don't know where I'd be without him for real.
So, I want you to tell us your story. I was telling everybody I had you and your dad on a couple months ago, but your dad shared his story. So, could you, this is what I want you to do. You know how we do it here. I want you to share what your name is, how long you've been sober, what your drug of choice is, and then kind of share with us what your childhood was like. Did you have a good upbringing? Parents divorced? Did you start using drugs at a young age? That kind of thing. And then shift us into, when you started using drugs, how bad it got, and then your recovery now.
Okay, cool. My memory is really, really bad. So if I just get scattered, and I do get scattered, I might need you to jump in, so I don't get so nervous. But
I got you.
hi, I'm Chrissy. I'm 38 years old, and I was born in New Jersey in 1983. I had somewhat of an okay childhood. I had more than I needed just at the very young age. My parents actually were drug dealers. I think I mentioned before when me and my dad were doing our interview together, the first memory, I have two memories of my dad when I was younger. The first one is actually when I was 3 or 4, he taught me how to braid my hair. And that's the very last positive memory, and pretty much only. And then when I was maybe 6 or 7, he took me with him to the store, and we were in a black Monte Carlo. I was in the back seat, and he had a African American dude in the front seat with a screwdriver to his neck, threatening him. I guess he owed him money for, drugs.
Yeah.
So not long after that, he got sent off to prison for a very long time. He was just in and out of my life. So after my dad got locked up that time, me and my brother, we moved in with my mother at my aunt and uncle's house. And very early on, we started getting sexually abused. And, I didn't know. I thought it was normal. I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't know if it was so much. I started peeing the bed. And my mom wasn't very nurturing at all. And, today I hold a lot of resentment for that, because he was a sex offender, registered sex offender prior to me and my brother. I think my mom suffers a lot from that, for, just regret. But
Was it her boyfriend?
no, it was her brother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
they had 6 kids plus me and my brother. And I think I was 8 years old, and my sister came up to me, and I remember her. I have a sister who we have the same mom. Me and my brother and my sister, we don't have the same dad. So me and my brother, who I talk about all the time, um, we have same parents, mom and dad. And then my sister, who's my best friend, we just have the same mom with my brother. But at 8 or 9 years old, she like didn't throw me up against the wall, but had me up against a wall and was like, "Is so and so touching you inappropriately?" And then I didn't even have to answer her, and she immediately knew because supposedly he was doing that to her. So I remember even at that young age, I was trying to protect my brother, and we ended up having to go to trial and testify and look at him. It was very traumatizing. They ended up only putting him away for 3 years, y'all. And still to this day, he's a registered sex offender with an ankle bracelet. And I honestly think I let that go a few years ago. But that's when that started off for me, the sexual acts for me. After that, my brother started acting out violently, like chasing me with a knife and all that. My mom worked full time, and she shipped him my years on down the road. Like my brother, I was 11 years old, and my mom sent my brother to live with him, and she didn't actually know where he was sending him because he was a fugitive. My dad was a fugitive. Remember he was a fugitive for a little bit.
Yeah.
So my brother was at my dad's for a short amount of time, and then I was 12 years old, and my mom sent me. Mind you, I didn't know who my dad was. He was married, and I didn't know where I was going. My mom was putting me on a plane to Georgia. She thought I ended up in Georgia, and then we drove here to Alabama. And y'all, it was the biggest culture shock for me because I was a Jersey girl. I knew nothing and coming to Alabama.
That is
it
so
was
different. Like that must have been crazy going from
it was
the big hair, makeup. I know
yeah,
what you're talking about, like Jersey girl kind of style, and then going down to the South, and it's just like everybody's so different in the South. Then you know what I mean?
right.
Okay. So, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
But over yonder, none of that stuff was. And now I'm as country as ever. It's crazy. But we went. My dad lived in this run down home in the woods in the boondock. So that just as a young girl traumatized me enough. I was just used to living nicely, even though my mom was a single mom. I had aunts and stuff. It was just horrible. It got to be normal for me to have like a 6 foot marijuana plant in my dad's house. He was very, very abusive to me, and at that time, my stepsister and my stepmom. He never was abusive to the boy, but to us.
Physically or verbally?
Yeah. See, well, I'm glad we got to do our stories separately because I'm sure he doesn't want to talk about that, but it
Right.
happened. Um, so there was no love there. There was no love in that household whatsoever. And like I found ways to get away. Like I did a lot of beauty pageants when I was younger. That was just my way of getting away from home. And I talk about, my step grandparents got me and my brothers and sisters in church at a very young age. And I'm so grateful for that because it got us away from the hell of home. At that time, my dad was a fugitive, but he was still selling and stuff too. I didn't know that until about 17 years old. So, that went on for some time. It was just hellish, hellish, hellish. I got into my first relationship when I was 16 years old. And, um, I found love and attention where I wasn't getting it before. I was with a man that was 3 years older than me. I mean, he could have went to jail, um, that's when I found I was just reaching and reaching for love anywhere, any attention, basically.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, at the that relationship didn't last, obviously, but at the age of 18, I had another relationship and I ended up getting pregnant. Um, I had an abortion, And all this stuff, I was just suppressing and suppressing. I just seemed like a normal child. I didn't communicate what was going on at home at all. And then 3 months after that, no, sorry, 6 weeks after that abortion, I had got pregnant again. And that was with my first child. Um, Let me go back and say at 17 years old, my dad was going to go hit me, raise his hands at me again. And I said, you're not going to do this to me no more. And so the next day I called Star because I needed to get me and my brothers out of there. And so I was in foster care for some time, and that's when I got pregnant. I was with a great foster family, and you know,
Wow.
to
So
be
hold on a second. It must have been pretty bad for you to call CPS to come get you out of there.
yeah,
Like,
he was literally rings off. His rings off because he didn't just beat me with a belt. When I was 14, I wanted to commit suicide, and he literally gave me a loaded shotgun and said, blow your effing head off. Like that's how he was just, y'all, he was the devil to me up until I was an adult. I
yeah,
looked at I I was terrified of him. And now that I think about it and look at it, he was suffering. He was so sick in his drug addiction. I don't make excuses, but as a mom and what I've done to my kids, I can
yeah,
relate to that. God, I've worked on myself. Um, and he would try to, come into events like cheerleading or pageants. I just pushed him away. I began to be terrified of him. So I had my first pregnancy while I was in foster care, and I didn't know who the baby daddy was. Yes, I was a what?
yeah.
Um,
Me too.
um, so my drug use actually didn't start until I was older in life. And it was because I just suppressed all of this trauma, trauma. So I had my first son, and that when he was 3 months old, I kind of just disposed of him. And this is where it gets hard for me to talk about is my kids and just how I just didn't know how to take care of them. I didn't know what mother like, and I know they say when your child's born, you'll just get that natural feeling. But I was young and I wanted to live. Basically, I just so he was given to his grandparents, and I kind of went on about my life. Started drinking heavily, just the norm. My first drug I ever took was methamphetamines my senior year. I skipped school. Um, so then I got to my first husband. I was 21, 22. I'm sorry, 22. And we got pregnant with my daughter, my oldest daughter, who I talk about a lot. And, that was a really good life. I planned our second pregnancy. We built a house together. And this is where I just kind of fell apart. So I had my second daughter, and we built a house together. And then I got a phone call to watch the news, and there was my dad with a large drug bust, and something happened in me that time. um, I agreed to go see him while he was in county, and this was the first and only time at that time that I've seen my dad clean and sober. You could see his eye. I was 23, 24 years old, and when I went to see him, I literally fainted because I was in shock. And after that is when something just happened in me. I think it goes back to not having a dad and trauma. I started using methamphetamines.
Mhm.
Back then, I grew up in a country area. There was not ice. If you found ice, it was very rare.
Right.
So me, a girlfriend of mine would buy boxes all over the counties, everywhere, and that's how I would get my mess. So I wasn't really taking any money from my husband in our home.
And what she
And so,
means
like,
when she says buying boxes is she's talking about buying Sudafed, the pills that we would have to go buy all these boxes and go to different Walgreens, Walmarts, everywhere, and then you could bring those boxes to to the dope cook. And what did you get? I would get like if I bought like $50 worth of boxes, I would get like $25 worth of dope. If I bought $100 worth of boxes, I would get $50 worth of dope.
we did like 2 boxes a gram, or that's how it was. there, which you get flagged, now I think you have to show an ID now or something. Well, I did back then too. So, but that's how I was getting just dirt meth, and I wasn't shooting that because I could go into a lot of things. I just don't want to trigger anybody, but um, so I ended up, doing all this behind my husband's back. I was a perfect little housewife. You would never have guessed it, and um, I just up and left. Up and left my two beautiful daughters and a husband. Still to this day, he's the best man. He's a great man. He don't compare to Jim, but nothing was wrong with him. It was me. Did I had no feeling whatsoever that I left my babies at all, because I was using the whole time, and that's when it never stopped. I subconsciously used because of that for 13 years. I mean, you go from hands on 24/7 being a mom. I didn't work, I was at home. And I'm still working in that today. Why did I do that? And I just know it's a lot of stuff that I was burying. I guess after having my babies and connecting with them and opening feelings that you never have until you're a mom, that's where I go back and think that's where it went all wrong. And so I got into the strip.
How old were your kids when you left?
My daughter was 3, and then my youngest was 1.5.
Oh
So
man, I bet you they were devastated. I'm not trying to make you upset either, okay? I just know how Nate was when he got taken from me. And I remember having to give him back to the foster people every time we would visit him, and he would cry because he didn't want to go. He wanted to stay with me. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. That's hard. I can't even imagine how you feel about that now because I have so much guilt in my heart because of that I know how you feel, just so you know.
yeah, I wanted to unlive myself so many times. There was no point in me playing. Um, so I got into the strip club world. You know, when I became into that world, I became a whole nother demon. The drugs and everything. I started selling my body left and right. In the beginning, I wasn't. I was just making good money anyway, but that's how it happened. Then I've been married 4 times, y'all. So yes, I
Okay.
was looking everywhere and I was that kind of girl.
It's because you
Um,
didn't have no love when you were a kid. You never
right,
experienced a healthy, loving relationship. And so
right.
you went looking for that everywhere you could in the wrong people, probably, you know? I mean, I had two parents who were straight laced and loved me, and they still are married to this day. And so, like, I had a fighting chance. Like, when I hear people and like your story where your parents weren't there, and it's like you didn't even have a chance. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Says he was like, "You never had a chance, Chris. You just never had a chance." And I have never blamed my never for any of it. It wouldn't get me nowhere if I did. So yeah, sex was a drug for me itself. Not only was I getting paid, it was a pleasure for me because I was empty and it was filling the voids. Um, so I found my next husband, my second husband, and we had a baby, my last baby, and he was really bad at this time. This is when the opiate doctors were taking patients left and right, and what's it called? I don't know. Anyways, they're opiate doctors where you're just going in there, paying them $900, and they write you any script kind
oh,
of
the
thing.
pill mills, the script doctors.
Oh, Roxy Cotton was huge. Xanax, Barzomas, all that. He was really bad into all that. And at this time, I wasn't into anything really heavy like opiates. And I would watch him go through withdrawals. And I'm like, suck that shit up. Like, what do you, I mean, just, you'll be okay. And I had no idea. Till this day, I feel terrible for that. And so we had our baby, we got pregnant. I mean, we got married. And you know, I skip this part all the time, but um, I used periodically during the pregnancy. I thought it was okay because I would take pain pills and snort a Roxy here and there or take a Xanax. Um, and nobody ever said anything. This time I didn't know that you could get drug tested while you're in labor. So the night before I took a couple pills as well. I thought it wasn't hard because I wasn't doing anything, but yes, Roxy, Xanax, and Valium, and gave birth to him, and then they took him from me the second.
So they
But
knew
luck,
they gave you a drug
yeah,
test when you had her or had him?
yeah, yes. My P test came out okay. I'm sorry, my P test didn't. His did, which is a miracle. They said if his P would have came out, it would have been a lot worse for me, dirty, because he peed on me when he came out. So that's what they said. Um, so luckily, my husband's grandmother is an amazing saint. She lived in the next neighborhood, and she offered to take him so he didn't have to go into another home until I could get clean. And so that's what we did. I didn't get to bond with him the first few weeks because of that. That's a lot of guilt, too. Feel like I'm like a terrible mom on all this right here.
Listen to
All
me.
of my,
You are in your
I
addiction. Like I listen to me. People say stuff like that to me all the time. You're a horrible mom. You don't deserve to have your son. How could you? I used during my whole pregnancy, shooting up methamphetamine, gave birth to my son so high on meth that I'm surprised they didn't strap me to the bed because I was tweaking when I was giving birth.
oh,
So I promise you, nobody's going to shame you over here because I don't put up with that bullshit. And I know
right,
you probably feel like that about yourself, and I felt the same way. I hated myself, but it's like you are in your addiction. Like you're not the same person when you're in your addiction as you are when you're sober. It's like your whole
right.
brain and everything about you is hijacked by substances. So go ahead. Sorry.
So that's what happened. And then, my husband got really bad into bath salts. I don't know if y'all remember bath salts. I mean, terrible, you know, terrible. So I had to put him away, take him to court, get him some help. And that's when I started taking it again. And then he had an affair on me. And so I ended up leaving him and being done with him. And um, when I left him and we, you know, for some reason, it seems like every time I would get away from a husband or a partner, I didn't know how to function as a mother. So when we separated and got divorced, my relationship with my son kind of just strand again, just took apart again because I was involving myself in, you know, drugs and sex and relationships. And not long after our separation, I got pregnant again, another abortion, and got it, you know, bad to me. And I got my two after that. So, and then I found my third husband. um,
You know what? I have to kind of laugh because
I
it's like if I don't laugh, I'll cry about things. So it's like now that we can laugh about the mistakes we made now because we're doing better for ourselves now. But
right,
a lot of people are can relate to your story. So you're not the only one who has made those mistakes. And I had
right.
an
I mean,
abortion too, just so you know. I had an abortion because I cheated on my old man. And I was afraid if he found out that he would kill me, so I had an abortion. And they were out there protesting in front of the abortion clinic.
yeah. It's. I get to see him when I go to heaven, though. That's what I'll say. I'll see my two babies in heaven. So this husband was extremely abusive. We got really heavy into methamphetamine selling left and right. Swingers, so bad. It was unhealthy. I'd buy him prostitutes and sit in the other room and hear all of it. I was sick individual. Um, Oh, man, you think about some of this shit and it's just like, I
That's
don't know
that
how
meth life. When you're in a relationship with somebody and y'all are both doing meth, it's wild.
I know. Porn is bad to this
Yeah.
day. Around me, I think you're a bad person because it fucked me up. It really did. I feel like you're cheating on me now if you watch porn because it really did.
Me
Um,
too. I hate that
yeah,
shit
I
because
do
of
too.
my meth days.
Yep. So we separated, and when me and him separated is when my addiction took another turn. Um, I started doing Roxy's really bad. I was spending $600 a day buying Roxy M30s, and I was smoking at that time. I shared my story on here about how I had a lot of money in my pocket and literally slept with somebody that I never would have thought I'd slept with for pill, one pill. I do that kind of stuff. I did that kind of stuff. Um, and so yeah. Then I got my first arrest. I was leaving work at 3 o'clock in the morning. I actually had Jim's convertible, and I had just, you know, bought. I think it was probably 15 Roxy's and some Xanax bars, and left. And I had shoved everything up in me except the foil that I burnt, smoked with and shoved in my purse. They pulled me over because I was in a really rough town in a Infinity convertible at 3 o'clock.
In the hood, girl, with a nice ass car.
Yeah, with the top 3 o'clock in the morning. Um, so they were like, she's acting really nervous because they thought there's more than what she has. And look, I had to pull everything out of me with handcuffs. Um, and I stayed like a day in there, and my friends that lived with me knew I was going to be sick. And when they bonded me out, actually, he bonded me out. When I got home, they had my stuff ready for me because they knew what kind of bougie ass. I was a very bougie, snobby, world revolved around me person. If you want something, I pay for it. You take care of me, kind of thing. That's how I was. And um, it was Mother's Day, as a matter of fact. And I didn't talk to my kids at all for years. My babies, my girls, and it was Mother's Day. I was seeing my son, and I didn't. Um, and this went on for some time. I just kept getting worse. Um, and then I started learning how to shoot up, and that's when it became really bad. I got my second arrest. Same thing, same thing. He bonded me. And mind you, I was doing all this and manipulating Jim, which is my boyfriend and partner now. And I ask him still today, like, how did you not know? Like, how did you just, and he was in such denial. And he will say that he was in such denial. Um, so, okay, I was, shooting up cocaine, all that. And
How
so I
did you
had
get
gotten,
into? Why did you start shooting up? Did somebody else do it and you seen them doing it?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was my second ex-husband, the one who had my son with, he was dating my best friend at the time, and they were on heroin, and I didn't judge them in my house. I didn't think anything of it. And so we actually were on our way home. The girl she was with me, and yeah, I was still friends with her even though she was dating my ex-husband. And then me and her were actually sleeping together too. So it was really messed up. So we were on our way home from work at a strip club at in the middle of the night, and I don't know what came over me. I was like, pull over right now. I want to shoot this cocaine. And she was like, no, the fuck, no, no. She was driving my car. She's like, no, the fuck, I was like, if you don't pull over, I'm gonna do it. And then there's no telling, she ended up pulling over because I was that controlling person. Like I literally had the money. I controlled your life and that's how I kept friends around me. To be honest with you, I was so lonely. I would buy you things. You could sleep in my house. You could use my anything to keep you in my life. You
Yeah.
know, she did. And that, I think the whole next week, that's all we did, stay in my bathroom. And you know how it is, just lay up in there, shooting up, doing drugs, not going to work. And so when it was raining one day and I had to go pick up for her, she had to go somewhere else. So um, this time, I messed up. This time I was on methadone. I was at the methadone clinic. Let me talk about that. When I had got arrested the second time, like I said, and I moved into this last apartment that I'm thinking of. I'm sorry, I just forgot so
No, it's
much,
okay.
y'all. So my second ex-husband, I'm gonna say Chad, that's his name, so y'all know who I'm talking about. He at the time was on a methadone clinic, and he was sick of seeing me smoking Roxy's and slamming Roxy's left and right. And he was like, "Why don't you do this?" And I was like, "No, So I did, and I thought I was so scared that it was gonna make me not. I was still gonna have withdrawals. Like when they first started me out 25 milligrams, I was like, "This is not going to touch me." I was doing 25 to 30 Roxy's a day. And it did. And so for the first I think it was the first month, I was doing just the methadone clinic. I wasn't doing no extracurricular activities drug wise. And then that day, like I was saying, we came home from work, and we had some cocaine from work, and that's when I
Okay.
said, "Hey," just came out of nowhere. So I was on methadone. I was on like 100 and something milligrams at this time, slamming cocaine, doing Roxy's on top. And I had to go for us. It was raining, and I was in my Audi, and I was speeding and like ran a red light. And then, there's like bridges over the interstate, like
Uh-huh.
it's the road. So that's what it was on. Like I still have this, you could still see the screech marks today. I went up it. It should have like went over, but y'all, every airbag went out in the Audi, like probably 10. There's that many, but I had one little bitty scratch, and so I was so upset. I called my girlfriend and I said, "Come pick me up so we can." I had Riggs in there. I was like, "Let's go get this dope," So I had to go get my dope.
Yeah.
Um, left my car there. Left my car in the interstate. Crashed, y'all. Left it completely crashed. Didn't give a fuck about my car. And went my dope. Went back to my apartment, and I had a Glock 9, and I was so, suicidal. I was I was so depressed, and my car was wrecked. My life was a fucking shambles. From the outside, you couldn't see it, but if you knew me, you knew it was. I lived
Yeah.
very nice, was so broken inside. I called my sister, and I was like, "I'm done. I'm ending it all." And so that next morning, she lived an hour and a half away. She's like, "I'm coming to see you." She showed up at my door. I'm like, "How the hell did you get here?" She didn't have a car. He picked her up. Jim picked her up, and they done an intervention on me. And I didn't know I was an addict. I didn't know what that meant. I just knew I had a fucking problem, and I was a mess. And they're like, "You're going to go to rehab." And I was like, "Well, these are the ultimatums. I'm not going anywhere here in Alabama. It has to be top notch, and you have to buy me this amount of drugs, this. So they did that. And Laguna Beach, California, it was like a fucking beautiful place. I packed like I was going on vacation, didn't, I was going to California, never been to California, and got there, and I ended up having to stay in detox for 3 weeks because of all of the stuff I was doing.
Wow.
They didn't have people come in there that was coming off of methadone either. So it was kind of new for them. But even in the detox, I hooked up with two random people. I just wasn't. I didn't understand any of it. That's when the seed of you know, sobriety was planted.
Mm-hmm.
That's regret anything in my life, but that's the one thing. Gosh, I don't. But if I would have told my first husband I had a problem back then, I think that's when things would have changed. But I don't know. I wouldn't be the strong human being I am today. So did rehab, stayed there 4 months, got into two different relationships. Natalie! Sorry. Gosh. Got into a relationship. Um, he spent $45,000 sent me to cash.
Wow.
Yes.
Damn, Gina, that's expensive.
I know. So I came back home, and a week later I relapsed. I called the same girl, relapsed. Shortly after that, I got arrested again. And, you know, finally it just went on for like a year and a half of the same shit, different day. Then I decided that I needed to go to another rehab. went to a faith-based women's rehab. You don't put a bisexual woman in there either because that's the only thing I did was hook up with women left and right. Um, and this went on for some time, jumping just from sober livings, small sober livings to, you know, just unhealthy relationships. And then, you know, 3 years down the road, I got hooked on heroin, really bad. And I had gotten a total of 7 arrests altogether. Selling my body left and right. Just money was my issue as well. I had major money issues. I got married again for the 4th time, and I got married high on meth, strung out. It was just bad. There's nothing that I can really say that I don't know. Then, when my son was 8 years old in that women's rehab, he wanted me to let him get adopted because I just wasn't in their life at all. So I did sign adoption papers for my son to, have financially and have a college degree, all of that. So because me and his dad were just a mess. So, when I did through all the rehabs, I found my last detox center. I made a video about this. I met one of my good friends, Lacey, in there, and that's when I got introduced to. I was already a heroin addict this time. At this time, I got introduced and by her, and out of every drug I've been on, that was the worst. Not just because of the Russian roulette you play. There's just a dark soul pit, like the that I can't even explain. Like every drug to me did something mentally. Like I really do think today my mind obviously is not healed from all of the drugs. And I don't talk a lot about my war stories because number one, I don't have a very good memory. Number two, it just I don't like the way it makes me feel anymore to talk about those things.
Yeah.
Um, but when I got on fentanyl, I had my 4th overdose and my last one and the worst one. I told a video about it. I wanted to unalive myself all the time. I had took a bottle of Valium Xanax and did, my last shot of that. And I still did the same thing, got up from the overdose and vomit clothes and went and picked up more. You know, and I would do crazy stuff like my fentanyl dealers, they had did a shooting and then like me and my friend would take the guns, you know, um, just crazy stuff. I would sleep with my fentanyl dealer for a gram of fentanyl when I had money.
Right.
Those are the hardest to talk about, because some people are just like you have yourself together, and you can't judge a book by its cover at all. So, um, then I remember I actually sat Jen. I had the guts for the first time in my life to sit Jen down and say, "Look, I need some help. Like, I don't think for me rehab wasn't working. Okay, it wasn't working." And then I said, "I'll go get on Suboxone." Okay, so I did that, and that didn't last very long either because I was doing Suboxone on top of fentanyl. I just couldn't get away from it.
Yeah.
Then I had my second to last arrest, and I came to this house and just finally cold turkey detoxed off fentanyl, Suboxone, and all at once. Hardcore, a long time doing it, and it was rough. But I'm telling you, it's the most craziest thing ever. It was the most spiritual thing I've ever been through. I don't know, just a lot of prayer for me. This is a very quiet, big house. Just complete silence. And the only thing I would play was like really soft, good music in the background. But it took 3 weeks for me to get out of that hell. I'm telling you, 3 weeks, and
Wow.
it was rough. Yeah. Um, but I have not touched any of that shit since then, and that's been 2.5 years ago. Now, I did go back to methamphetamines and Xanax, and then Tiana. Those were crippling for me.
What
I don't know
is
if y'all know,
Tiana? What's that about?
those those are legal, pretty much legal gas station dope, and it's similar to heroin effects, but never nothing will ever amount to heroin. But those were like $35 a bottle. I'd have to take 2 bottles a day just to feel normal, not to get high. And I was on those for 2 years,
Wow.
along with other drugs. Yes. So coming off that was terrible. And then coming off, I did cold turkey off Xanax. Do not do that. Um, I'm, it saved my life. I don't know. Anyway, so um, finally I got clean. March 13th was my last arrest, and that's when I detoxed off all that. And what was different this time for me was I got a sponsor, and I literally did not connect with any man or woman that I thought would bother me, something in me. And then
Yeah.
spiritual awakening. I just knew I had to do something different. Like, I know that's so cliche, but I was so freaking sick and tired of living the way I was. I wasn't one of those addicts who lived under a bridge. Yes, I sold my body because I just was money hungry. It
You were
wasn't for
addicted to that. You were addicted to that life and
right,
living that way, and I think it was like a thrill for you to have that power over a man.
exactly.
Yeah, I know what
Exactly.
you're talking about.
And so I had women around me in the program of Narcotics Anonymous. I just started taking suggestions. And the most important thing for me was I did not hang out with anybody that used, or I thought I could, or I just really, I know, like, I really did just change people, places, and things. And then, you know, my kids came back around. I was 6 months clean, and I gave that up a long time ago, about 4 or 5 years ago. I said, God, like, I know what I've done, and I know my kids are in the best place, and I'm okay with that today because I self-consciously used for all this time because I was absent from, you know. Um, and so when I was 6 months clean, I don't know, I reached out to my daughter through social media, and thank God for social media because I know there's a lot of parents out here who wouldn't be able to get a hold of their kids.
Right?
It, if, yeah, so I did that. She contacted me back, and I've been building that relationship with her. And my 18-year-old son, he I got in contact with him, but he's not ready, and I respect that. Um, and so that was all huge for me about that time, 6 to 7 months clean, and just changes were happening, and I didn't know how, and I still don't know how to communicate with someone when I'm going through something. I feel I can deal with it myself. I talk myself through shit, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of us do that and think that we don't need nobody. And so I, for about a week, I wanted to use so bad, like, my mouth would water, you know what I mean? When I wanted that taste of heroin. I wanted the
Uh-huh.
warmth. I was always good at using and hiding it from everybody. I literally used to cover, track marks. So um, I contacted a couple people that I knew in my area. Nobody knew this. Um, and I don't want to talk about it because I don't know who's in here, but I just didn't feel comfortable talking to some people. And I prayed about it. I literally did. I prayed about it. And I have people who ask me today, why did I choose methadone? And I'm just going to be straight up honest with y'all. Like, judge me if you want. I knew methadone would give me that warmth that could, instead of putting a needle in my arm. Um, I started off at a low dose, but that's just the God's honest truth.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, but at least you did that instead of relapsing. Um,
Right.
and I appreciate you for being honest, because a lot of people, they try to bullshit me about methadone, and I've been on methadone. Me and my husband were both on it, and I think at a therapeutic dose, it helps, and you can be regular and sober on it. But when you first get inducted onto it, if you've been off of everything for a while, like you were, it's going to give you that little zing zing. You know what I mean? And so at least you're honest about it. That's so much. It's so much better to just be honest about it and not hide it. You chose the right path, because you would have went out and got high, and you could have killed
Yeah.
yourself.
Yes. This is the longest time I've ever been clean in my life. So I was scared. I knew if I, I've never, so I took it slow. And for 7 to 8 months, I hid this from one person knew except my ex-girlfriend. And then it went, she told my family, and I hid it from my friend, everybody about this, because I have so many people contact me today, and they're in the same situation. And it was fear because of rejection. There's people in Narcotics Anonymous, all the meetings, all of the, and that are all abstinence, and that's great. But I just don't think that I'm abstinent female. I want to be,
Yeah.
um, but you know me, and I would have used, and when I would have been out, that would have been gone, not here. And what kept me even more sick, and I see a lot of people tell me they can see the difference in me today from a few months ago, because I was able to be honest. It took
Yep.
someone telling my family, and before I was able to just, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I actually sat people down this time and said, look, this is how I feel, because I don't care anymore. I'm making myself sick thinking y'all are going to judge me, even if I don't tell y'all. Like, it's just eating me up anyway. So why not fucking tell you? And if it happens, it happens. I'm already sick in my mind, hurting anyway, if that makes any
Right.
sense.
Yeah. I can't. I
I,
know how you felt trying to keep that secret. I know, because I remember whenever I got on Suboxone, and it was like I would, everybody in my family knew, but like when I would go to an AA meeting, like I didn't want to say anything about being on it because I was afraid to be judged for like the first year that I was on Suboxone. And then one day I was just like, fuck it. I'm going to go on a crusade, and I'm going to speak out about medication assisted treatment, and I'm going to help other people who are on it, who felt the same way I did and felt judged. And I'm just going to tell everybody. And so now it's just going to be like, I just ripped the Band-Aid off, and then I went on a mission. You know what I mean?
and I'm going to say this: Nicole is a very, before, like, I told Jim, my boyfriend, my whole family, and then I called. I told Nicole was the first person I talked to about it before I told my sponsor. You know, I was just like, look, I can't live this anymore, and I was very comfortable telling you. You know, you just made me feel comfortable because you are MAT all the way and an advocate. So I decided to come out, and when I told my sponsor, that was one of the hardest things. And I hate not knowing who's on here, but I don't care anymore. You know, she made me feel like shit on a brick, you know.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, I understand everybody has their own thing,
No, it's
but
not okay, Chrissy. It's not okay. Okay, if I had a sponsee that wasn't telling me about being on methadone, and then she finally told me, I would know exactly why she kept it from me, because she was afraid I was going to judge her. I would be disappointed that she didn't feel like she could tell me, but I would be
right,
glad that she opened up to me about it, and I would hug her and tell her I'm proud of her and that we're just going to keep it moving.
right. Um, and I want to go back real quick. I know we're probably just, I don't even know what time it is. As far as the relationships with my dad and my family now, it's totally different. You know, my dad talked about how close we got, and then he went to jail.
Yeah.
And today I'm feeling a little different. Like, no, I will never sit here and bash him. I'm so proud of him. But we haven't communicated a lot here lately, and I miss him. He's only going to have to serve about 14 months, y'all, so that's great. But I don't think I pray when he gets out, we can continue this relationship, but we can't talk on the phone without getting into it because we are so much alike. And I absolutely forgive him for everything. I've never blamed them, but being an addict child and an addict father or addict parent, it's constant chaos. It's constant. Um, my feelings are torn all the time with him.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know.
Y'all's
I have,
y'all's lives mimicked each other's though.
yeah, his was so bad too. Yeah, he got every bone nearly broke in his body when he was a child. So we both have abandonment issues totally, you know. Um, I don't know, but I'm just a totally different and happy person today because I've been so open, so honest with everything. Um,
Were
like
you
I said,
able to find another sponsor to work with you?
well, Shoe Lover, you know who Shoe Lover is?
Yes. Yes.
Here. He
Hmm.
contacted me a few times on the phone. We've talked, we communicate. So she offered her service as a sponsor or a mentor to be there. I, as far as working the steps, I want to work the steps. I don't know if there's a rule written
I
down
worked
that
the 12
you,
steps. I've worked them
ma'am,
like 4 times on Suboxone and loved it and did great and had a spiritual experience and everything.
and I don't feel any different. I'm not like high or anything. I've talked about just being kind of just melatonin. Like I'm not an emotional person anymore but I'd rather be this way than being with a needle in my arm because that's how
Right.
I'd be. But yes, I do want to work the steps because I was working them while I was on methadone. The difference is she didn't know. So she just didn't want to work with me because I'm on, and she's never relapsed in her life either. So it's a different kind of thing. And I'm not judging her. Lord, forgive me. Please don't think I'm judging her.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
understand, but it's kind of sad to me that it's kind of disappointing to hear that she wouldn't continue working the steps with you. That just makes me so sad because that could have been that was an opportunity for her to actually like do something different and be there for somebody. And it's so sad to me. You being on methadone isn't changing that the fact, it's not blocking you from being able to work the steps. And this is one of the things that people in 12 step fellowships try to say is that um, there's no chemical solution to a spiritual problem. Like medication's not going to fix our spiritual void from our malady. But what the thing is that medication isn't fixing us. It's a part. It's assisting. It's a tool. We're still doing the work with our
right,
AA and our NA and our therapy and all that. You know.
right.
And so I
Yeah.
I think it's really important for people to understand like what happened to Chrissy has happened to hundreds, if not thousands, of other people on MAT who have come out to their 12-step sponsor and then kind of just been abandoned. Just,
Right.
oh, sorry, can't hang out with you
I,
anymore.
there's a comment right here, and I hear it all the time now. Is that a lot of the NA members are disgusted with their own members for being this way. But we all have different pathways, and my biggest thing today is I try not to judge anybody at all.
Right.
Whatever they and not just in recovery or addiction, just in anything. I'm gonna try to be the best version of myself, and dude, I am today. So I mean, I don't care for
You made the
the next.
best decision you could to go on MAT and not relapse.
Absolutely. And so I'm so glad that I came out about it and I can be a voice for others and give advice and be an inspiration, dude, like all the way. Now, do I want to be on it for the rest of my life? I don't know that answer really.
Yeah.
Um, I would love to see myself like all the way clean with nothing in my system, but right now that's not, you know, I'm a mom today. I have relationships with my kids today. I actually have a real job. I know that's just a joke to people, but I'm actually in a normal setting with a job where I'm not spreading my legs for a dollar. Well, I was more than a dollar, but you know what I mean. Like,
I know
protective
what you
person.
mean, like a real job, like a regular job.
Yeah,
A job
absolutely.
that
And
you feel proud of what you're doing. You know what I mean? You don't feel ashamed or whatever.
the first time in my life in 38 years, I'm actually not ashamed of anything. I mean, of my past, but I'm proud of myself today. I'm proud of myself.
The fact that you're
And
able to get to see your daughters and stuff, that's amazing. Like I
now
know
my
it
third,
makes you feel so God,
my God,
that
yeah,
heart has to be bursting because of that. Because it was
absolutely.
people were even commenting it in here. They were saying you can tell that it still bothers her what that she wasn't around her babies, you know? And so I know that was like I know that's hard to talk about, and you could tell it's hard to talk about for you. So I'm so happy that you get to see them. Tell me, I know you had one of the girls on your TikTok because you were going to a game or something or like that. Tell us about that.
Well, my 16-year-old is Dallas, and then my 13-year-old is Trinity. My 16-year-old, she has a relationship with me. Um, she was I spent the night over here with me, like the first time in 13 years, like 3 nights with me and my family. Like that was just great. My 13-year-old, she doesn't want anything to do with me. It's because she just doesn't know me, you know. So Dallas is a precious soul. She's a good child. She doesn't do anything like me. And it hurts my feelings that she had told her granny that, I just look different than the other mothers. And I'm like, I just want to make her so proud and comfortable. Quit crying, Nicole.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, like, it's hard for me because I don't know how to be a mom, y'all. I don't. So it's hard for me to even connect with her, to be honest with you. I'm not going to sit here and be all fake. Um, I feel crazy because I don't know what to do sometimes. I get on the phone with her and it's complete silence because I don't know what to talk about. Um, Parents get to go take their kids to school, and I'm not trying to like pity party me, but I don't know what to do when it comes to this sometimes, y'all. So
Yeah.
it's just a learning process with me. And I try to explain to them the disease. I want them to understand, don't freaking pick up, bro, because you have such a chance of never coming back from that because of, your parent, me. Um, but that's the hardest thing to struggle is like, I don't know. I know that sounds crazy to some people. How do you not know how to be a mom? But number one, you stop developing mature wise once the drugs are put in and we get clean, we sometimes act as teenagers,
Yep.
and that's real. You know what I mean? Not immature, but just mentally. So my brain is not normal, if that makes any sense. So imagine me trying to be a mom to kids that I don't, just kids, period.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
That
hard
makes
being a mom. I didn't know how to be a mom when I got Nate back. When I got him back, I cried because I did not know how to be a mom because I was high when I was being a mom. So for the whole
right.
year, the year that I did have custody of him, I was high. I only experienced like 3 months sober, and then I was high the rest of the year. And so when I got him back, I cried and I would call my mom and I would ask her like how to do things and everything like that, and it was hard. It wasn't easy, but I can imagine it's even harder though for you because like I said before, you didn't have any parents to show you what it was like, how it was to be a parent, you know.
Right.
At least I had something to mimic what my mom showed me and my dad, you know what I mean?
Right. And, you know, I just try to pull out conversations like, oh, you want to get your nails done? She's the total opposite of me. Um, so that's been the difficult part is just stepping, because I don't think I'll ever be that in their eyes or my eyes, maybe be that mom. They have second moms or second parents. I just I maybe absolutely lost that chance for the rest of my life. I kind of did. Like I missed all of that. Where am I going to be in the future with them? It's my relationships. How I just feel like I've lost so much out with them. What's it going to be like? I'm struggling pull strings now to have those connections. You know what I mean? So Dallas had a hard time hearing me say, like, oh, I forgave myself. I don't have any regrets. Kind of nonchalantly said it. And it was an ordeal for her. Like, how did you do that? Like, how do you tell your kids, look, I messed up. Drugs took a hold of me when they don't understand the
Right.
disease. Like, some understand it. So it's something I'll probably repay for the rest of my life. And I know that. And a lot of people get on here and say, how could you do that? You're not a mom, blah, blah, blah. You have no fucking idea what goes on in our head or my head, where I didn't want to be alive because of it. I didn't know for a long time. I used because of it. So, it's hard to talk about it because people will come for
Yes.
you.
I know it is hard. When I made a video about being pregnant and addicted, I thought it felt like the whole internet was attacking me. All these
Right.
people were commenting, saying I didn't deserve to have a kid, that my son should have been taken away from me right away, that I ruined my son. I mean, just horrible things. And then I got to thinking about it, and I thought, you know what? Half the people who are commenting on these videos don't even have kids.
Right. 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 And I'm sure they can't fathom, like, how could we just leave our kids? How could we use drugs while we're pregnant? Like, you don't have to suffer from the disease. I watched the neuroscience of the brain last
Uh-huh.
night. Just like, I wish everybody would sit down and watch this to understand us, creatures of addicts that we are. Because
Shooting methamphetamine, honestly, if I could shoot every person in this chat with a shot of meth, then they would understand why it you can
right,
kind of like not be your mom, because it's so
right,
powerful. And I just
it
don't
is.
think people understand. Same with
Yeah,
fentanyl and heroin. It's so powerful. The euphoria is so strong that we chase that feeling, that relief, and we chase
warmth.
it, you
Yes.
know? And that
Oh,
and
method.
think about it, when you're somebody like Chrissy, who didn't have her parents, like really good parents in her life, she got sexually molested when she was a little girl. Then she finds this thing that she can stick in her body that gives her this relief, and it's like then you just start chasing that thing, and it's forever.
This like an opiate addict like me that I was looking for love all the time. I did heroin because it made me feel warm. Now, someone like you that's normal and does meth, you just run. You're just chasing to have a good time. Look, I shot meth a lot too, and my heart's thinking, like, just pounding thinking about it. Yes,
Yeah.
if but
I was just whacked out of my mind. And when I would take those drugs, it would make me not in my right mind. And like I said, I was thinking back to a story and I was crying thinking about talking to my husband, because I had my son in the truck with us when we went to this dope house to pick up some meth. And Nate was in the back seat in his car seat and he was crying the whole time. This was when he was like 3 months old, 4 months old, and he would not stop crying. And I swear to God, that was Jesus. Jesus was in my son's body, like crying, trying to get us to turn around. Do you know what I'm saying? Like trying to get us to stop.
yeah, I know.
Ugh, I'm so grateful to be sober now, but I still think about that stuff, and I try to explain it to people, but unless they have been through addiction themselves, you can't get it through to them, you know?
Right, right. And if just this is way off the guard, right? If you could do something that made you orgasm immediately, you would understand,
Yep.
you know? Um, so you can't, you just don't know. It is the devil. I will say that.
That's the
You will always,
strongest comparison I can share with people, is that the first time I shot meth, I had the big O. And that's how I try to explain it to people who ask me, like, what was it like? Why did you stay on it? If it was due to this, and I'm like, this is why. Because I was
exactly,
chasing that feeling for the rest of my life.
exactly. Yep.
So,
To be honest, I felt like I felt fun. I felt, but take the drugs away. I'm still a fun person with a great personality, but I thought I could get shit done,
yes.
just, you know how we are. We just feel like superhumans. We love that superhuman feeling that it gives you. And I still struggle today to have energy and have motivation. And, I don't know
Me
if it'll ever
too.
come back. People say it does, but, you know, I don't ever want to pick up drugs again, for sure.
I struggle with the same thing, like lack of energy, no motivation, depression, like sometimes where I don't even want to get out of the bed, and I have
Right.
to make myself get up. And that's all because of the drugs I did for so
Mhm.
long. It's all a direct result of that. But
Do you know
now, go ahead.
time, how long it takes I'm asking a genuine question to you or anybody. Do you know how long it takes the brain to heal from all of that? Like years of, slamming dope. How long? I wonder if all my brain will ever
Some
heal. Do you know what
people's
I mean?
brains never heal. It takes years because think about it. Post acute withdrawal can last like 2 to 3 years. So, and that's just post acute withdrawal. Some of us have done permanent brain damage to our brain.
I
I'm going to ask
say,
Dr. B that question.
yeah, I say that a lot. Like I actually made a joke would say, I did one shot, never come back. I'm never coming back. I did a shot that makes me from meth that will never make me go back to me. But it just might be that, we stopped functioning when we started putting drugs in. And now I feel 20 years old sometimes, maybe even younger in the brain. And I, especially when I have a 60-year-old boyfriend, like, oh, I'm not mature mentally as him. So I feel, cuckoo. But when I have people like you that I can relate to, just addicts in general, I know I'm not alone. And I say things I think, like, and I don't care what people think anymore. That's the crazy thing. Like, I don't give two shits today. Back in the day, I did. I cared what people thought. I don't care
Yes.
anymore.
So did I. It was because we wanted their validation. We wanted acceptance. We wanted to be fit in. We wanted to be a part of. We wanted to be connected and loved. And even though I had love from my parents, I was still the same way that you were. I was constantly looking for validation and acceptance and attention with men. And I had a great dad. He was my best friend now, and he was a great dad when I was a kid, but I just had something missing inside of me, a void, a hole in my soul, and I felt like I needed that validation.
Yeah, and I think I found it today with Jim. Excuse me, I ran from him for 9 years, but because he was not the kind of dude I wanted.
That's
I
because he was
wanted
doing
this,
the right thing.
huh?
That's because he's doing the right thing. He was actually
Right,
like being
right,
healthy, buying a home, working a job. He wasn't all wild and stuff.
right, exactly. And I'm actually now. I don't want to go out and hang out. I said it today. I don't want to go hang out. I don't want to go talk to you. Right? I love you from a distance, kind of thing. Like I'm straight with not doing all that
Me too,
anymore.
girl. I love being at
I'm
home. I told my husband, I said, "Do you think I'm lame? Because I love being home. I'm safe here. I have stability. I enjoy just being at home. This is my fellowship, doing my
yes,
thing on here."
yes. I build relationships here. My favorite date is pajamas. I'm watching a movie on the TV. Like I don't, we do date night because we need to do that. But as far as the NA member friends of mine haven't reaching out, I make videos and jokes of it because I just think it's sad. But I'm not really hurting because I don't want people like that in my life. If you
Right.
don't want to check on, if I don't need that at all. Because seriously, I know this sounds crazy. These people on here have been my friends more than people in my life. They maybe they fill that void too. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too much into this whole TikTok thing, but I love it. It makes me heal. It really does. Like
I love it.
make
I feel like we make friends here.
I think about am I too much of doing this? But I know you do it as much as I do, if not more. And I want to make sure it's not a sick obsession, but my disease leaks out in other ways in my life if I'm not using
Me
drugs.
too.
So
I think that as long as we're doing our recovery, keeping our recovery first, and not using our social media as our recovery, but we have like our separate recovery, then I think we're okay. It's when we are like totally dependent on TikTok to like keep us sober. That's not good.
Yeah, no, I would no, I would not want that at all. I actually want to, you told me about the Mara meetings, but there's not even one in my state either.
I know.
I see,
I hate
but
that
I
they're
don't.
not, more. They're online on Zoom, but honestly, like, what about Celebrate Recovery? Have you tried that?
I would love to try that. I need to see if there is, because I'm very, into church. I'm a big believer.
I think you would
My
love that, and it's 12 steps.
Yes, I know, and I've been to it when I went to rehab, but I do. I need to look into something like that because I don't think I feel comfortable now stepping into my home group here. We only have a couple home groups here where I'm from since I've came out about methadone, and I talk about it like coming out of the closet, but I kind of did when it came to that,
Yeah,
So since now I have not stepped to a meeting since, and that's not okay for me. It's not okay for me because I still love Narcotics Anonymous and what it stands for. Maybe the people's not so much, and that's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to take the message out, not the messenger.
right.
Take the message, not hate the messenger. But I do like working through things, especially 12 steps, So I have to work on that.
That's how
Getting
I
better.
am. I love the Alcoholics Anonymous 12 steps. Those are the 12 steps I worked. And I was really fortunate here in Arkansas because the home group that I had, they were so great.
That's
But it's getting better here where I'm at in our meetings. We have so many like huge AA meetings here that if I wanted to go to one, I could go to one anytime. But I really do a lot of meetings online, and then I do a lot of like I do my therapy with my therapist, and then I have Dr. B and Dr. G, and they help me a lot in my recovery. And then I do this kind of stuff, and so I'm constantly busy doing some kind of recovery. I'm just so
I think.
proud of you, Chrissy. Like you did the
Thank
right
you.
thing. You did the right thing coming and getting on the methadone. You could have went the other way, and you wouldn't be alive. You would have died.
Right, and I still yet. It'll be 17 months on the 12th. What's today's date? Anyways,
But tomorrow's the 12th.
okay. But I have not put any illegal drugs in me. And so I went into the methadone clinic clean and I'm still clean. Like I didn't have a dirty drug test. So that I want people to understand I went because of my cravings and triggers. And the methadone takes it completely away from me. Like some people will take the opiate cravings away and they want to use other things, but I have no desire because I was already trying to change my life prior to going to the clinic. I knew I didn't want to live that way anymore. So I'm grateful that I had that, built all that up for 8 months and then got on methadone because I don't know how it would be. But, um, I'm just completely so proud of myself because I've never been this far. And I still celebrate clean time.
Heck
I
yeah.
don't care.
That's
No.
because you're still clean. You're still sober. Um, as long as you're taking your medication as prescribed, you're sober or clean, whatever you want to call it. Addiction is it's characterized by the behaviors that we do. You're not going out and fucking and sucking to get your methadone. You're not lying, cheating, and manipulating. You're doing all the opposite of those things. You're doing recovery, so you're
And
sober.
then I was still dancing and doing those things in the beginning. And that's one of the other reasons I wanted to relapse is because I couldn't do, you can only imagine you can't do that stuff anymore. And so, I try to be there for Micah because, who girl,
Yeah,
watch it.
yeah.
I did it and I worry for her, but she'll be okay. But that's another thing. I have no drugs and no prostituting and stripping anymore. That was a huge drug for me. So
It's like having
pretty
a
bad.
head full of recovery and trying to do that stuff. For a lot of us, can't do that because it's like we were fucked up when we were doing that. So it takes us back to that place.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yes.
Ugh, I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for coming on here and telling your story. You did really
I
good.
took so long. I always feel like I miss so many good things I should have talked about. But I'm so glad you had me after a month doing it with you.
I know.
But I love you do it.
What I want you to do is like tomorrow's your 17 months sober. Maybe when you hit 2 years, we'll have another 17, 18,
Oh
19.
yeah.
Well, that's a little far away. Well, I'll have you on before you hit 2 years because I want to do like a woman's round table where we get like you, me, maybe Ashley from Trashly Anonymous. Who else? And a couple other girls where we can talk about like, you know, the girl stuff that girls go through in active
But
addiction.
those meetings, like those kind of sittings, because we can talk about,
Yeah.
anything that we women. I think that'd be a great idea.
Okay. Well, I love you. I'll hit you up on the I'll text you and then we'll get it put together, okay?
I love y'all. Thank you for being here with us.
I love you, girl. Y'all go follow Chrissy on her account. Don't be shady.
Come on.
Bye, girl.
Love you.
Love you too. Okay. Sorry, I got a little emotional, y'all. I just really love Chrissy, and I'm so fucking proud of her, dude, because she did what she had to make a real tough decision, you guys. And it's really hard when you're in Narcotics Anonymous, and she was in the fellowship, like she was going to meetings, had a sponsor, and that was one of the hardest things for her to do was to talk about, switching over to MAT because she was so afraid of the judgment she was going to get, and she has experienced some of it. I've seen some of the comments that people leave on her videos, but you know what? This is what I have to say about that, you guys. Fuck that shit. If people are judging you because you're on MAT, then you don't need them in your life. Okay, you got to do what's best for you and stay alive. People are dying. All right, it's not a joke anymore. It's not like back in the day when we were using, and you could keep relapsing every other day. It's serious. I mean, it was serious back then, but I feel like it's even more serious now. So I gotta wash my face. I hope you guys enjoyed. What are you doing, babe? Are you in here?
Yeah.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed our little story time. If you guys, I saw some of you commenting about wanting to come on and share your stories. All you got to do is DM me, and I'll set a day and a time for you to come on. It doesn't matter if you've been sober for 25 years or one day. Okay, everybody's welcome to come share their story here. It doesn't matter if you are on MAT, abstinent, or medical marijuana or kratom. I want to share all pathways to recovery. So, yeah, I will upload this video on my YouTube channel. So if you missed it and you want to rewatch it, it'll be up on my YouTube channel in about 30 minutes, okay? So, I'm going to wash my face and get ready for bed. Tomorrow we have Sarah, and she's going to come on and she's going to teach us about harm reduction, y'all. So for those of you guys that always ask me about what's harm reduction, blah, 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 okay? That's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow night, okay? So I'll see y'all here tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time with Sarah, and we're going to be talking all about harm reduction. Love y'all.